story of the day, just a couple of days ahead of Prime Minister Modi and President Donald Trump's meeting on the sidelines of the G7 meeting in France, US and India ties have taken a slight hit. Earlier this week, US forces targeted 3 merchant vessels carrying Indian crew members. The strikes on the vessel off Oman coast killed 3 Indian sailors. At first, Indian Foreign Ministry summoned US diplomat in the national capital twice in the last 3 days to convey the deepest concerns over the ongoing attacks. And then External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Shankar dialed U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He told his American counterpart that such lethal actions against the commercial shipping vessels there are not justified. But the White House has now stated that all the commercial vessels should immediately comply with the orders from the U.S. forces in the Strait of Hormuz, and the violations of the U.S. blockade and the illegal transport of the Iranian oil will not be tolerated. Let me go across to my colleagues who are joining us live on the broadcast, Srinjoy Chaudhary and Mayank. I'll come back to you. In fact, let me tell our viewers more about what US President Donald Trump has said. He has accused Iran of attempting a drone attack on the Indian ships leaving the Strait of Hormuz, calling the move totally unacceptable. The allegation comes amid heightened tensions in the important waterway that is the Strait of Hormuz. US military Central Command has also claimed that the crew of the vessel repeatedly failed to follow instruction issued by the American forces operating in the region. However, the ship's management company has strongly denied these allegations. It has rejected the claim that the vessels ignored warning from the US forces or that it was even carrying the Iranian crude oil. Now, the conflicting accounts that have certainly added to the uncertainty over the situation, the key waterway, that is the Strait of Hormuz, and that is what we are learning so far. Let me go across to our consulting editor, Srinjoy Chaudhary, on this. Good morning, Srinjoy. Trump has put the blame on Iran for the attack on Indian ship. Let me go across to Mayank on that. In fact, we'll try and fix that line with Srinjoy Chaudhary. Mayank, Trump has put the blame on Iran for the attacks on the Indian ships, and now Marco Rubio, in a call with External Affairs Minister, spoke about the naval blockade, but there has been no sign of regret at all that is coming from the US on this. Give us more details about the attacks in the last 4 days, the response that is coming from Trump, the Central Command, the White House as well, and the stand that India has taken so far.
Yeah. Akansha, first point first. The point allegations made by President Donald Trump on Iran, that it was because of their missile or drone that the damage was done to the merchant vessel. Now, on that, Iran had also come out with a statement saying that they were not part of it. Then the next part is actually going by the reports which came out since the attacks. It had come out that one of the charges were the missiles. It had hit the area of accommodation within the merchant vessel, and because of which the death took place. The practice earlier had been that to disable the movement of the vessels, generally the engine area was being hit or being targeted in one way or the other. In this case, missiles were used to disable the particular merchant vessel in this, the vessel we are discussing about. Now, the other point is actually when it comes to acknowledgement of the deaths of Indians, on that the call which has been held between Marco Rubio and our Foreign External Affairs Minister, on that point it was talked about rules, and then saying that that this particular vessel did not follow the rules and all, then people say that it was a sort of a disproportionate employment or deployment of military operation, and missiles were used. So that is also one point which has been coming out as part of the questions being raised on that. But there had been no acknowledgement or any sort of a point on the deaths of Indians, Akansha, as you have already brought out.
Absolutely. In fact, it remains to be seen how this pans out, because Central Command has said that the crew of the vessel repeatedly failed to follow the instructions, something that the shipping management company has also denied. Stay on with us, Srinjoy, Mayank, as well as Sabyasachi. I'll come back to you on this. We have another breaking update coming in, because back in India, the politics has started. Political heat is rising, with the Congress party launching a scathing attack on the Prime Minister. Congress party has said that the government handled the situation weakly and questioning India's response to the strong and unsympathetic remarks that have been given by White House. Congress leaders have also criticized the tone coming in from US, saying that India should not accept such a language from a friendly nation, and have directly targeted the Prime Minister over the government's response to this. Let me go across to my colleague Sabyasachi on this. this. Sabyasachi, as you heard, Congress party has launched a scathing attack on the government back in India. The politics has started. Opposition, mainly the Congress party, they are questioning the weak response by the government to the death of the 3 Indian sailors. Take us through the reaction and how the Bharatiya Janata Party has essentially responded to these allegations.
Well, see, the Congress has launched a massive attack against the central government. The Congress, in fact, have been calling that a foreign policy and the government is compromised, and they are not strongly responding to the statement that has come in from the US. In fact, yesterday, Mr. Shashi Tharoor also put out a long post on social media X, and he called it. He said that the reply that has come in from the US was shocking, was insensitive. There was no condolence about the 3 lives of Indians who have been lost. In fact, Mr. Shashi Tharoor also said that hoped Mr. Jaishankar had put out his point in the telephonic conversation with Marco Rubio. In fact, he also pointed out that if the merchant vessel was not following the orders, whether at that particular time non-lethal weapons could have been used, and time and again, if US is our strategic partner, but why is there so much insensitive is what the Congress party is saying. And the Congress party have demanded accountability. They say that time and again our foreign policy is collapsing, and not only Mr. Shashi Tharoor but several other Congress leaders, including the leader of opposition, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, has been raising these points regarding the foreign policy, and that India has not been responding strongly to the remarks that have been coming in from the United States.
All right, so the Congress party has said that there's been no regret, no remorse, no empathy, no sympathy, hardly the language you use with the country you call a friend. Have a look at the reactions coming in.
Our country's Prime Minister has not uttered a single word condemning the killing of Indians. And what is this way of calling an official of US Embassy and showing our displeasure by issuing a demarche or whatever it is called? Ye kya ho raha bhai? Those people are pleading for help. That ship is on fire. You don't even come and help them. We must thank the Omani government for helping us. At least they came and rescued those people. Otherwise, all of them would have been dead by now.
Did you hear speaking our Honorable Prime Minister, the Bisu Guru? Why is silent? Why the BJP Bhaks think that the Prime Minister is only for him? I mean them. He's our Prime Minister also. And he's being insulted every now and then by the Trump and American administration.
देखिए ऐसा है कि सरकार ने बहुत स्ट्रांगली उसको कंडेम भी किया है और देश के हित में, देश के लोगों के हित में, देश की सुरक्षा के हित में जो भी मजबूती के साथ कदम उठाने की जरूरत है उठा रही है सरकार.
It is a very tragic occurrence, I would say, which led to the loss of 3 of our lives of 3 of our citizens in the state of Hormuz. But it is a conflict situation. There are risks involved, and I think we did the right thing by bringing this to the attention of the US authorities through a formal demand.
So a lot has happened in the last 4 days. 3 separate ships were targeted between June 8th and June 11th in different locations, including the Gulf of Oman and near Shiraz port in Oman. While all the crew members, they were reportedly rescued in 3 of the incidents. 3 Indian sailors, we are learning, they are said to have been killed in one of the attacks that were done on June 19th. And this has in fact triggered strong political reactions back in India, as we told you, with questions being raised over the circumstances of the strikes and the safety of Indian nationals at sea. Let me go across to my colleague Srinjoy Chaudhary on this. Srinjoy, 3 Indian sailors have lost their lives, but we are witnessing claim and counterclaim. Central Command has said that the crew of the vessel repeatedly failed to follow the instructions issued by the American forces, and that is why they were attacked, something that has been rejected by the ship management company. Take us through the details.
All of this happened a few days ago. What lies ahead is a very important meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Trump. Now that meeting will be on the sidelines of the G7 in Avia in France. Now, yes, all of this has happened, but now this is a moment when the Prime Minister and the President will have the opportunity to clear the air. It's important to know what the Prime Minister will say and then what President Trump will reply to it, because this is the crucial meeting. The President of a country is meeting the Prime Minister of a country, and when the relationship, the bilateral relationship, is in difficulties. Now at this point, both sides need to clear the air, because if the Indian side feels that it has been hard done by, as External Affairs Minister Jaishankar spoke to Marco Rubio, his counterpart, the US Secretary of State, and said so,
all right,
then the Americans should also concede that yes, a mistake has been made. Now we have to see what President Trump says, and that's going to be particularly important, because you could argue that at least in the short run, the future of the relationship will actually depend on the meeting.
Absolutely. And now all eyes will be on that crucial meeting between Prime Minister Modi and US President Donald Trump, and whether this crucial issue will crop up during that meeting. Thanks so much, Ranjoy and Mayank, for connecting with us and putting that into perspective.